How's it going today? Turn the music down just a little bit more. Some of these remixes can get kind of, you know, in your face. Honestly, the third area of Donkey Kong Land is the worst. Like, the mountain world with the cloud levels and stuff is, like, I think far more annoying than, like, the final world is. I think Big Ape City isn't really that bad at all. I mean, it has some annoying things in it, but, like, I feel like the difficulty peaks in the peaks appropriately enough, so. Alright. Shirt for the day. I'll go ahead and get this out of the way first. There you go. It says, I have to, like, hold on. There we go. You can see my, Pac-Man pajamas that I'm wearing, too. It says Dunk on the bottom. Fun fact, these are Christmas-themed Pac-Man pajamas, but I wear them all throughout the year because I don't care. So it's always time to be festive with some Pac-Man pajamas that are also randomly Christmas-themed for some reason. Like, the ghosts all have, like, little Santa hats on, and there's, like, candy canes and stuff, but, you know. I'm always in that merry spirit. That's okay, Jero, I was also falling asleep, which is why I didn't end up finishing the game. But, Soccer, do you have the... They, like, changed one. Wasn't from the Mario Golf game on the Switch? Like, the one where she was like, whatever, and then they, like, changed it to be less, like, sassy. Do you have the original version of that? Before they censored Daisy? Well, these are, Diver, these are internal rare documents, and I haven't looked that closely at all of them, at least not recently, because I didn't want to spoil things for myself, so who fucking knows what they're gonna say? You know, honestly, I don't know. I was gonna say, I feel that Gregg Mayles is maybe not as raunchy as some of the people who worked at Rare, like Chris Seaver or something, but I don't think that's necessarily true, actually. You have to remember he wrote a lot of the dialogue for, like, Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, so yeah, that's not true at all. Alright. But, so here's how today's gonna work. Just like the last time we did a concept art session, these all came from, Gregg Mayles' Twitter. So, I just have them all saved. And actually, that reminds me, I was gonna pull his account back up because I wanted to try and get, like, what he said about each of these. I didn't, like, save them or write them down this time. I was just gonna, like, try to find them and look at them. So let's see. Because he was using the DKC2 is 20 hashtag when he uploaded most of these, so I should be able to, yeah. I still have the today's news Donkey Kong Bonanza devs admit elephant power-up went too far on the side of my Twitter. Omi, hi! Thank you. You know what? I was just thinking about you the other day. I was thinking about, like, my Mario Party days where I played Mario Party all the time and how you were around for that all the time. Yeah, hope you're doing well. I still play Mario Party from time to time, though. I'm on that Donkey Kong grind these days most of the time. Yeah, Elephant Bonanza, honestly, we need to be more critical of Elephant Bonanza. He's out of control. Yeah, I don't know why Nintendo has become, like, the elephant company. Like, they gotta put an elephant in, like, every game. Well, have fun with Mario Party. Good luck. Yeah, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Are Nintendo secretly Republicans? Is that what they're trying to tell us? Yeah, hopefully we'll get an LE statue when they have the Elephant Bonanza event. I can only imagine that unless they're just so dedicated to minimizing DKC3 references, but that's not true, because they talked about Chaos, you know, and some other stuff, I guess. I mainly remember the Chaos reference in the Northern Hemisphere map, and I'm sure there were some other ones, though. But there's a mandate against Kiddy Kong. They're not allowed to mention Kiddy Kong. But they can talk about everything else about Donkey Kong Country 3 except for, you know, one of the main characters. Yeah, Banana Birds too, that's right, that's right. Speaking of Banana Birds, they are going to come up today, in today's stream. Now you may think, what do Banana Birds have to do with Donkey Kong Country 2 instead of Donkey Kong Country 3? Well, you'll find out. And, you know what's sad is that this is probably the last one of these sessions we're really gonna do, since Gregg Mayles wasn't, like, super involved in any Donkey Kong game going forward. Like, Donkey Kong Country 3 and DK64 were handed off to another team, and he, like, helped with certain elements of it. But he hasn't really posted a lot of concept art for those games, so, unless I am able to find some other concept art from, like, other artists out there, this is probably the last, like, big Kremling concept art thing that we're gonna do. Unless they come out with, like, a Donkey Kong Bonanza art book by the time we get there, which would be, that would be slapping. That, I would buy that instantaneously, and I would buy an extra copy just in case, you know, one for, like, display and one for, like, actually looking through, you know? Anyway, let's get started here. I kind of just wanted to wait for people to get in because this is going to be like a heavy discussion-based session where we're just going to kind of like take it slow. But the thing is, I also had some Nintendo powers I wanted to get to today, but I don't think we're going to have time because I bet we're going to spend like 30 minutes just talking about like the intended Klubba boss fight and stuff like that. Like, I think we're going to have one more DKC2 session before we move on to Donkey Kong Land after all, because I was looking at the Nintendo Power coverage, and it's pretty lengthy, and I don't want to have to, like, squeeze it into the end of today's session, so we're probably going to actually have another, you know, Donkey Kong Country 2 supplement session before we move on to Donkey Kong Land 2, which is fine by me. But anyway, let's get started. So, yeah, I want them to release the physical soundtrack of Bonanza, but it's like a set of like 50 albums because they recreated all the albums from the game, like all the records that have like the different art on them, like every single one, because there's like a bunch of different ones. The record with like the K. Rool's face on it is gonna be the best, obviously. All right. Is the music too loud? Like, is the music drowning my voice out or anything? Because a lot of these songs are very, like, intense, like, club mixes, and I feel like they're kind of... Okay, perfect. Alright, great. Tell me if it ever gets overwhelming. But yeah, we're gonna start with this one. And so, I'm gonna have to zoom in on this, so I didn't, like, really, perfectly arrange it or anything, because we're gonna have to take a closer look here, but you can see the full view here. So this is Gregg Mayles' original sketch of Crocodile Isle, which I think is... It must have been obviously extremely early in the... I don't think there's a date on this one or anything, but it must have been very early in the process of planning Donkey Kong Country 2. And I think it's great, and I love it. And we'll go through the different things, but I like that they originally were going to spell it with a K, and I'm really not sure why they went back on that, because it's always been like a weird point of contention that, like, it's the Kremlings Island, so it should be spelled with a K, right? It's like, that's their whole thing. But, and you know, there's things you could say about that, like the theories I have is that, like, Crocodile Isle spelled with a C is what the Kongs call it, or what, like, outsiders call it, because it has always been the place where crocodiles have lived since time immemorial, and so, you know, it might have been called that by, like, some kind of ancient people or whatever before the Kremlings really evolved from crocodiles into Kremlings, so it could have that aspect as well, but, yeah, I don't know, I think it probably just, honestly, just should have just been spelled with a K, but because it's not, we have to explain that away, but I do wonder why they went back on it, though. Yeah, like, Gregg Mayles' doodles a lot of the times are just, like, really simple and silly, but when he wants to go for it, he really goes for it. I like all of the, like, shading and stuff he's using here, but first thing you might notice is that, it's backwards, basically. I mean, obviously the layout isn't the same as it would end up, but Crocodile Cauldron ended up being on the other side, and Donkey Kong Island also ended up being on the other side, so it's kind of like flipped. Or I guess maybe this is just, honestly, this could just be like Crocodile Isle viewed from the back. I guess that would kind of make sense, maybe. And there's just like a back entrance to Crazy Kremland. Yeah, it's Crocodile Core is properly spelled with a K, because that's, you know, like, specifically Kremling related, I guess. It's their source of power. The Jigglypuff view from above. Alright, so first of all, before they had settled on a name for Diddy's conquest, we have Diddy's Day Out here, which it's kind of funny, but it like reminds me of that movie Baby's Day Out from the 90s. Maybe that was supposed to be like what it was a reference to, where there was like a baby that like wanders all around the city and they're trying to like catch up with the baby. I saw that movie when I was like a kid. I don't remember much about it, but oh, that reminds me, I should I should start recording. And I don't have the so I'm gonna be missing like the beginning of this video, but I can like take the stream recording and stick it on there, but the rest of it can be full quality. Yeah, some of this is gonna be like kind of hard to see to begin with, just because the photo that he did post of it is just kind of blurry, but I will do my best to zoom in so it's all readable and stuff. Yeah, I bet that movie went really hard if you were like an actual baby and you're like, man, I could do all this stuff. Alright, so I brought this up. At some point we talked about, was, like someone asked, do you think the flying croc was added in sort of last minute? You know, they were originally just gonna have the game end at K. Rool's Keep and have Stronghold Showdown be the actual final battle. And they added in the flying croc because they were like, what if there was more? But no, it was around since the very beginning. They wanted K. Rool to have an airship that, you know, extends off of the top of the island. So that's been around. It's funny, though, that it was a blimp originally, which did end up getting used by Donkey Kong Land instead, whereas they eventually gave him a more, like, you know, high-tech airship. Oh, this is this song. The one with the noises in it. Yeah, and it even says that the ship and the ladder don't appear until the Krem stronghold is done, so it was never intended to be visible on the island until after you'd already gotten to the top of it, and then it kind of appears as a surprise. So it does look like Mr. Patch. Yeah. I can't believe that Mr. Patch, this was his original form, and then they gave him a body and he got to be an entire dinosaur, but he was just a head originally. It is very funny looking. It's very goofy. And I like that he had an original draft for the crossbones up there too. Although it did end up looking differently in the end. But I like how it looks now. But that was... I mean, actually it's kind of weird because it was on the Gangplank Galleon in the first game. So they already had that, and he was like, okay, but what if we made it different? And then they were like, no, we already have it. Let's just go back to what we had before. Unless this was drawn before DKC even came out, and they were like already planning for the second game, which could be true. I don't know when this was made exactly. It could have been made before Donkey Kong Country even was finished, and they were already planning for the sequel, because, you know, they had to start, like, thinking about the sequel before they were even publishing the first game, so... Then we got, you know, Donkey Kong Island back there, which says DKC Island here. And now what's interesting to me is, so it says map ideas number 1, screen wide, and 1 screen wide, 2 screens high. Yeah, that's how it is. There was something, if you look above, like, K. Rool's Keep or whatever, there was something whited out there. Like, there was something that was written there, and that was, like, whited out, and he kind of, like, drew the line over it. It makes me, I don't know, maybe it was just, like, one of these other things, and he realized it wasn't going to fit here because he wanted to draw the ropes for the blimp. I don't know. But what was written there? I'm so curious. Yeah, I was going to sell 1 Kremlings copies. So yeah, we're kind of working backwards here. But the Kremling Stronghold with the fortress theme, yep. And then it has a It has a mouth-like entrance where it's... Yeah, there's like little teeth there. So, you know, in the actual game, like the sort of the bottom of it, like Arctic Abyss and stuff, does have that cave entrance where it has like stalactites and stuff, and they kind of look like teeth. So they kind of just incorporated that in a different way. Claw-like battlements, that's cute. I don't think that really like made it in. And the round bricks like scales. Yeah, they were making this a like... Originally, it was just the most crocodile castle of all time. It didn't really end up necessarily having all of those elements to it, but... Yeah, Gregg was just already, like... He was like, I gotta, you know, I gotta do something with this blimp guy. I gotta, you know, even if they change him significantly, I'm going to make a character out of this later. Yeah, so the interesting thing here is, right, Mount Kremor, as Stuart has pointed out. So in the final game, you just have, like, those Rool heads that are there just kind of for decoration. But originally, they were actually going to have levels in each of them. Like, I guess you would go from one to the other, and they're all fairly hard. I wonder if that was, like, I don't know, maybe some of the original ideas for the Lost World levels would have been in there, since they're also, like, different. So originally, I guess, Mount Kremor would have been its entirely different world, probably, before you got to the stronghold. And then... This is... Yeah, going down to Gloomy Gulch. The entire level in the mist, the haunted theme. Which, you know, Web Woods is kind of foggy, but it's not like you can't see or something. I don't know, it reminds me of that random part of the comic we looked at where it was just super foggy for some reason and we don't understand what happened at all. Yeah, and as far as these crocodile heads here that were supposed to have levels in them, it says... Each one would be, like, a different element, and it said the mouths would shut when the level was finished. I wonder if that's, like, kind of where they got the idea for the crocodile core, like, you know, opening its mouth when you were ready to go in. This art just, like, makes me so happy, because... I don't know, it's just like you can tell the imagination that was put into it, and, you know, most of it did end up making it into the final game, but, like, it reminds me, like, I mean, DKC2 is such a great pirate story, but it reminds me of the story of how, like, Robert Louis Stevenson was creating Treasure Island, where he, like, the map came from, he was literally just playing with, I think it was his stepson, and... he was just playing with this, like, young kid, and they were making this pirate map together, and they were drawing it all out, and, he was like, okay, over here is this feature, and over here is this feature, and he decided to, like, write a whole book about it after that. I don't know, this just kind of reminds me of that, just, like, draw out the pirate island that you want to see in your imagination, and then from there, like, create a story around it. So there was also over here, if you look above Crocodile Cauldron, it says grassland, desert, wasteland style. Those levels didn't really make it in. But that was, I guess, supposed to be on, like, the top of Crocodile Cauldron. Because it says here there's short, wiry grass bushes that look like horse-like hair? I don't know exactly what that says, but... yeah, so I guess there was supposed to be, like, some kind of levels that would take place on the top of that, too. As well as, like, around the corner, like, on the side here. But you see there's, like, bushes and trees on the top of Crocodile Cauldron as well. Yeah. So, down here, at the bottom, we got, of course, Crazy Kremland. Crazy Kremland, I mean, it is lower down, but I guess if you had to go through some of these other worlds first, it would also have still probably been decent ways into the game. It has a fun park theme. Got the Swamp City with the swamp theme. Swamp City or town. Kremky didn't end up really being a town, per se. It's just kind of like a swamp with piers and like sunken ships and stuff in it. It was supposed to be the Kremlings harbor, so we can presume that there might be like abandoned buildings and homes and stuff there too, but we don't really get to like actually see them, not even in the background really. Yeah, so here it says caverns underground with the underground theme. They don't really talk about like lava levels per se. It was just kind of underground levels. Although this is like the nostrils of Crocodile Cauldron are smoking, so it kind of implies that it was got that active volcano atmosphere. Now what's interesting here is it says there's a boat graveyard, but it's only for atmosphere, so they didn't really intend there to be pirate ship levels here, I guess. Like, you know, it was just kind of like set dressing, and you weren't gonna be on the Gangplank Galleon necessarily, but they decided that was like an important way to set the pirate theme, probably. So obviously I'm glad I did that, it's iconic. Yeah, no, when I was a little kid, and we were into Donkey Kong Country 2 for the first time, Bramble Scramble is where we got stuck. After 3 days of playtime, we couldn't get past that level, and I feel like that's probably very, very common, because I do feel like that's a huge difficulty spike, pun intended, sort of. It's funny because I don't think Bramble Scramble now when I'm playing the game is like any more or less hard than a lot of other levels. It's just another level, you know. But to a lot of people, it stands out as being very memorable. Alright. So that's about all I gotta say about this, but, you know. Oh, the first area was the ship, sorry. I retract that. It was just like... I remember reading this somewhere else, and I don't remember what exactly it was that we were looking at that implied, like, it was supposed to be, like, maybe you started on DK Island, and then you get on the ship, and the ship comes to Crocodile Isle. I feel like some other concept art we looked at before, even if it wasn't, like, for DKC2, or, like, something mentioned that was, like, the original idea, and they weren't able to, like, work out the ship traveling, so they ended up with it just being, like, wrecked and washed up on Crocodile Isle. So, yeah. They always wanted the galleon to be the first area, but it was supposed to, you know, travel. But yeah, this art, I love it. It's just so charming, I don't know. But we're gonna move on because we need to look at this. So we got some original ideas for the enemies here, for our beloved crew, all the crewmates, all the sussy crewmates. Again, this is a little blurry just because the image he posted was blurry to begin with, so I'm sorry about that. It's just how it is. Yeah, what's funny is that his nipples are completely censored, unfortunately. He did not draw in the nipples because they are covered up by the canon. You're gonna say a lot about Clobber? Okay, I'm excited. Yeah, so you know, when Gregg passed this over to his brother Steve for refinement, Steve was like, okay, we're gonna make his cannon smaller so you can see the nips. Like, he's gonna be holding it at his side, so he's got the nips on full display, so thank you, Steve. Thank you. But we will start at the top here. So what's interesting is that if you remember the like concepts we looked at for Donkey Kong Country, like so many of them didn't make it into the game, or some of them were even actually used kind of as ideas in like DKC3 or DK64, but almost all of these made it into the game relatively unscathed, unchanged. So it's like, obviously there's differences in their depiction and stuff, but I guess they were more confident. They knew what they were doing here. They had it nailed down. So we'll start with what became Clomp here, but obviously being just called the critter, or I seriously cannot understand what that second one is supposed to be. It looks like crank cut, which I don't really understand what that means. Or like crobble or croffle. I don't know why. They were just... Are these even words? Are they just coming up with like nonsense that starts with the letter K at this point? Is this like Britishisms I don't understand? I don't know. I feel like they were just they were just trying to make Krobble happen. Now Cobble, yes, that's we'll get to Cobble eventually someday, but Krobble, I don't know about that one. Croffle, they're just saying things, man. I don't now. Crew cut would be funny, but I don't think it might be. You know, it might say that, which is interesting because, I mean, he's on the crew and he's cut out to be on the crew, but he doesn't like have a crew cut like the hair. Yeah, they were just running out of K words at this point. They just were like coming up with names as if they were like Pokemon or something. Yeah, he's from Crankfurt. He's circumcised. Alright, but he's just the basic Kremling, as we know. He moves left and right. This guy became Clump. He looks pretty much identical to how he ended up, except he doesn't have a bandana at the end of the day. So many of these guys have bandanas, and like, a lot of them didn't end up with bandanas. I guess Steve Mayles was like, okay, you can't just give them all bananas. Bananas. You can give them all bananas. That's kind of what Kremlings do. They steal bananas. You can't just give them all bandanas, because I'll just give them to a few of them to make them more unique. Really, it was just Klinger that ends up with a bandana at all, I think. Alright, so then we have Canon, and it was important that Canon was based on Clump. Like, that, it wasn't just like they, I don't know, like, at the end of the day when they were like, well, we're gonna make this Canon Kremling, we already have this model from the first game, so we'll just recycle it. Like, that was important from the very beginning, you know. He was always supposed to be Clump. It's important. Nipple watch. We love Clump. They love Clump. Gregg Mayles loves Clump. It's confirmed. We all do. I still need to make that emote, by the way. I've been focusing on making thumbnails for my YouTube videos instead, but... Oh, Cackle does have a banana. I can't say bandana! Why can't I say I can only say banana. I can only say bonanza. But yeah, in fact, Cackle has lots of different bandanas that he cycles through. Yeah, being Clump was always canon. It's true. Very smart. Alright. Yeah, Klinger will come back in the sequel, Donkey Kong Bandanza. This reminds me of when Hyle couldn't say banana ring when we were doing the Mario plus Rabbids episodes, but that's more understandable than not being able to say bandana, so I don't know what my problem is. So Cannon was supposed to fire small or large cannonballs. Sometimes his balls are small, and sometimes his balls are large. Small ones like projectiles, large ones roll along the floor. That's interesting. And, So they do have the pointing downward shot in the game, which is why they have the check mark by them, because that made it in. Now, the kneeling arc shot was also something that was in the original, like, DKC Kremling ideas, so he really wanted the kneeling arc shot to happen, and I guess it kind of did in DKC 3, because there's, like, Kachukas that kind of do they throw their bombs out in, like, an arc like that. So, again, with the, like, things finally making it into DKC 3 after all that time, but he had to wait a little longer. Hey, Ghostly, what's up? There's some important things about Clump/Canon, his nipples and his balls. So, originally, clamp-ons were just claptraps. They were just claptraps with, I guess they were gonna stick a bandana on them, which is funny, but, on their big heads. I posted in my Discord, and I don't know if I saved it, but there was a early screenshot from this game where they were just using a claptrap as a placeholder, and a place where a clamp-on would eventually be. So it's interesting that, you know, they had the time and the dedication to redesign some of these guys a little more thoroughly than just, like, taking the model from the first game and, like, slapping a pirate thing on them, you know? I do have a Discord. It's for, Oh, my bot's not working right now, and unfortunately I can't fix it because Victor is not here right now, but it is for subs, and it's for Twitch subs, and when my bot is working again, there's a little more info on it, but I think if you have your Twitch account linked to Discord and you're sub to me, it'll just like show up or something. Yeah, I always liked Clampon's like big old head and his like kind of like little neck. Alright, we got Kaboom. Now, what's interesting is, do you remember the concept art of like Kaboom from the first DKC where he was holding a barrel and it looked like an accordion? We said that he was running at you with an accordion. So they still had that same idea here. He wasn't originally going to be in the barrel. He was going to just be holding it and running at you. So they were a little more distinct from Clobbers originally. And yeah, like I said yesterday, he screams and shouts as he runs. So the terrifying Kaboom/Clobber scream was always an important thing. That very startling sound effect was an important part of the design to let you know that they were coming and that they were up to no good, you know? Oh yeah, we'll get to Krusha in a second. I wonder if, I don't know, if the idea was that maybe Kaboom could somehow survive, because he's not, like, in the TNT barrel. Maybe he would just, like, hit you with it and run off or something. But instead, no, they have to be in the TNT barrel, so rip. Yeah, Clobber and Kaboom, they are both, like, pretty scrawny Kremlings at the end of the day. Like, they turned up being pretty scrawny from what we can see of them. But here, they look a little more muscular. Yeah, I mean, if I was running towards someone with a TNT barrel and I knew I was going to explode in a few seconds, I would be screaming too. Just like, ah! Yeah, so originally Clobbers were just Kremlings who had their pants stolen and they had to hide in the barrels for that reason. So it runs at the player and knocks you back a fair distance. If you roll or jump on him, retreats in the barrel, comes out again while in barrel, player can pick him up. Yep, so that's... It's interesting that Kaboom didn't get a check mark here, even though Kaboom did make it into the game, but they just essentially made it in as, like, alternate Clobbers. You know, they're like Alolan Clobbers, Crocodile Isle Clobbers. I mean, they're all, you know. And then we will get to originally just Krusha, and they decided to give them a different name because, you know, much like Clump was changed to be significantly different enough in his role to be canon. But it's interesting because, like, you know, Krusha and Cruncha are kind of like synonymous as names. It's not like what he was like doing or his like gear really changed or anything like canons did. It's more just like he's different enough, so they wanted to use a different name for him. He fulfills a similar role to Krusha, but now he gets angrier. Instead of just like laughing off your attacks, he gets fucking pissed. So I talked about this before, but it's kind of like up to you if you want to say that like Krusha is Cruncha or whatever. Like, I mean, they're a lighter blue and they don't have the head spikes unless it actually was just hair and they shaved it off or they like pressed them down under the bandana. Oh yeah, another one that has a bandana. Random get angry and run of jump on. So yeah, I feel like the relationship between Krusha and Cruncha, since it's not actually like mentioned in the manual or anything the way it is with canon, was kind of just originally like a concept, and it's kind of up to you how you want to interpret that, if they are the same or not. Yeah, they pulled out his spikes one by one. Yikes. It would have actually been funnier if he had, like, the bandana on his head, but, like, the spikes were just, like, poking through it. Like, he tried to put the bandana on his head and, like, put it over the spikes, and it just, like, tore through them. I guess that would have been a little, difficult to represent with the, technology of the time, perhaps. I know it's just the shading, but it really looks like Krusha/Cruncha has, like, a real hairy chest and, like, underarm hair and stuff. I mean, look, if some Kremlings can have hair, why can't they have, like, underarm hair and chest hair? Just, yeah, he reminds me of, like, Gaston when he's, like, you know, when he pulls his shirt open to show how hairy his chest is. Yeah, you know, if you're a pirate now, you gotta pick something to give up, and at least Krusha only had to pull the spikes out of his head. He didn't have to cut his leg off or something. Hi, Tater Sloth. Welcome to my, unhinged Donkey Kong, lore streams. Alright, now Crook was originally way different looking, and I like the extremely sassy pose that he has here. Like, he's doing, like, some kind of model pose. He's, like, turning, and he's, like, throwing the hook back behind him. Like, this is a very fancy pose that he has chosen to draw here. And in the end, I really love how Crook ended up looking. Like I've talked about, I love how he's got his longer snout with his... He looks the most like a gharial out of any Kremlings, and gharials are fucking cool with their long snouts and their, like, mini teeth that they have. And I like that they're wearing, like, the oversized coat and everything, so you can't exactly see where their hooks are coming from. Because, like, I feel like it would be more upsetting if they just had the arms with, like, a like, nubbin at the end of it, and they just, like, threw the hooks right off of that. So I kind of like that they just come from inside the big old sleeves in the coat instead. Yeah, he he did kind of eat, that's true. So he throws a hook like a boomerang, comes back to him. One big hook, one small. That's interesting, they're the same size in the end game. I wonder if the different hooks would have had different behavior, like there was a big hook that would move slower and a small hook that would throw faster or something. You can't jump on when he throws. I don't know if they're just talking about the hooks there, or if they mean, like, you can't jump on him, because maybe he was supposed to raise his other hook up and you weren't supposed to jump on him at that point, because it would be pointy spiky. Dude, we all... I need to draw, like, a modern, actual, finalized Crook doing this pose. Just, like, Alright, Klinger, you know, one of my most beloveds. He climbs ropes. One that throws objects across? That would have been interesting. Just like he takes the knife out of his mouth, just yeets it at you. Yeah, this was Crook's glory days before he became kind of like a shriveled, hunched over old man. And then we'll get to Clunk at the end. Poor Clunk, he didn't make it. One climbs slow and slides down first. Yeah, so that's Klinger for you. Klinger was like... This design is maybe like the most unchanged out of all of them, except maybe Cannon, or Clomp, but Klinger is... He definitely has the, like... He has undergone 0 design changes since his original drawing. This is because he is without flaw. I mean, I don't think Harry... Maybe that's why... Okay, maybe that's why Cruncha is wearing that extremely tiny little, like, top in this game, because he actually has a little, like, tuft of hair there. And, he doesn't know... Like, he doesn't want people to know about it, because, he doesn't want people to comment on it, so that's why he's wearing that little thing. Just, like, cover up his little chest hair. Alright. Then, we got Captain K. Rool, which is... funny that he had a beard originally, and I guess that's like an earring there on the side. It's a little hard to tell. I think he looks goofy with the beard. I'm glad he ditched the fake beard. Or maybe it was a real beard. Maybe he can grow facial hair. I don't know. But I'm just trying to imagine the Captain K. Rool model that we ended up with the beard, and it's silly. But he did end up using a fake toupee in Donkey Kong Country 3, so he didn't give up on having some hair, supplementing himself with the hair implants. K-bread. Yeah, I feel like the beard would have been, I don't know if it would have been hard to read necessarily, but, he's dressed in a big trench coat. It keeps, running out of music here. No, wait, no, it hasn't. This song just has a slow start. Okay, he carries a big blunderbuss, that is true, that fires various objects. Possible mini Necky as his parrot. Now, that's cute. That's cute. He did end up with Screech, although we don't see him and Screech interact in the game, but Screech is his parrot, you know. And that's why I had to commission Steve Mayles to draw him with Screech, because I've always wanted to see that. Yeah, his coat is very, like, it's very shabby here. You know, he decided at the end of the day he could do better because he's a king and he's a captain, so he bought himself a better coat instead of this one that has, like, patches and stuff all over it. I don't know why this song is so, like, quiet. Oh, it's about to kick in, I think. Alright. End of game boss again. Well, yeah, alright. Unless it was Klubba. Possible pirate phrases in his speech. So he did write you the letter at the beginning, you know, his ransom note, but it's interesting to imagine maybe they wanted him to, like, actually have some more dialogue in the game, which I wish was true. But I think, you know, in the GBA remake, there is, like, some cutscenes and stuff where he ends up talking a little bit more, so, yeah, he went to Goodwill for their, like, when it's Halloween, Goodwill always is, like, super advertising, like, come in and get, like, used Halloween costumes here, or things that you could use for Halloween costumes, so he did that, and he went and got some, like, shitty pirate coat, and he chopped off his own leg, so he so in this version, he wasn't dedicated enough to go out and buy himself, like, a real new pirate coat. That would be nice, but he was dedicated enough to chop off his own leg. Possibly Croc, it says down here. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Oh, this was, I guess this is like a Kaboing. This is not related to Captain K. Rool. This is a other enemy design that he hasn't drawn out yet. But 2 peg legs and only jumps, so that was, that ended up being Kaboing. I don't know why Croc would have been the original name for that, but... and then we got Cloak. Little anticlimactic to go from the final boss. But Cloak / coat. He throws various items at the player. He hovers along, perhaps just an empty ghost-like coat, yes. And, he floats high and throws down. Yes, he does. He's throwing down. And then we have Clunk, who kind of evolves in the cut list. So Clunk is the one who I think changed the most from their original iteration. Because Gregg was considering, like, you know, if we don't do this, we could do the same idea, but he has a huge cut list, which is what they ended up going with. And it says he carries a plank of wood held high, you can't jump on him. When player approaches, he swings for them, and then you hit him when he misses. So I guess the original idea was that he was just gonna have this plank of wood, and the big old nail would get stuck in the ground instead, so it worked like Cutlass ended up doing. I think the big rusty nail in a plank of wood would have been, like, a lot harder to, like, read as a sprite, or to, like, understand what was going on or what you were supposed to do with him, so obviously I love Cutlass, one of my faves, with the 2 big old swords, so I'm glad that it evolved, this concept evolved into Cutlass instead. But, you know, I do feel bad for Clunk for not making it. I guess he would have essentially just looked like a Clomp, but with both legs, and just a big ol'... I like to think that he he stepped on his big rusty nail on accident, and he got tetanus, and he was unable to participate in in this game. I mean, some of them do have big clubs with big old nails in them, so I guess that's close enough. Alright. So I do have the Klubba battle saved, but I think I want to save that for a little bit later on in the stream. We're going to skip past it for now and come back to it. Instead, we're going to look at Cleaver instead. Now, Cleaver is an honorary Kremling. He is a Kremling. He's a Kremling ghost possessing a sword. You can't convince me otherwise. He may not be a literal living crocodile, but if Cloak counts, then Cleaver also counts. My favorite... Look, I have to have an ad break in like 10 minutes anyway, so... We'll get to Klubba before too long. I won't make you wait too long. But... Cleaver, my favorite lawyer, this is... So there's supposed to be a secret area in his boss battle, which is interesting. So, like, you could jump backwards at the start, I guess, and then, like, go over the top, and there would be something back there. Because originally they were going to have squawks hidden in this level, and I guess if you got squawks, you could just, like, spit eggs at him instead of, having to hit him with other stuff. And I guess they ended up, like, just using squawks for Kingsing instead, but... Originally it was going to be TNT barrels instead of cannonballs. Honestly, I think the cannonballs make more sense, because if you were a sword getting hit by a TNT barrel, I feel like the explosion wouldn't really, like, do anything. It's just like, whatever, but a big steel cannonball coming at you could damage a blade if you were a sword, so I think it's more about, like, the force of it than an explosion, which wouldn't necessarily, like, harm Cleaver too much. End of level daddy, too. Yes. Yeah, I always thought that, you know, whatever spirit possesses Cleaver, like, you know, the hand is just the same thing. So, like, sometimes the spirit manifests, it's like a spirit in the lava, but can also just reside in the sword entirely. So, originally he was just, you know, holding it out of the lava, but then it's like, enough fucking around, I'm just gonna be the sword now. I have my own headcanons and stuff for Cleaver, but this isn't about me. This is about what actually was planned for the game, so maybe we can talk about that later, but... Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like this... I mean, this is pretty much how the battle ended up being, except that you could have had squawks in it, and it would have had TNT barrels, which... Having squawks would have been significantly different, that's for sure. And it says Big Cutlass here, and I guess they originally, once they decided to have a regular baddie named Cutlass, I'm sure that he would have been called, like, Cutlass or something if that wasn't the case, but once they had, you know, we have a regular baddie called Cutlass, we gotta call this guy something else. Yeah, he literally can go into lava and be fine, so, like, what TNT barrels are nothing to him. Yeah, I'm trying to see if it mentions in here when the hand disappears and it just becomes a flying sword, but... It doesn't necessarily say that that happens at all, unless I'm missing something. Because, like, even here... the hand is still there, so I guess that was like kind of a late... Once they reworked the battle to like not have squawks be an option, maybe they added that part. Because you have to have like, instead of just some hooks, you have to have like hooks all over the place. What did he scribble out and replace with parrots? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see if we can do some investigation here. I think it was just player. I don't really know like why it matters, because if you were using squawks, then the player and the parrot would essentially be the same thing here, but I guess because sword tracks parrot's movement as it tracks the play. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's because there's an R at the end, and I think that's like a P at the beginning, so I guess he just wanted to emphasize that it worked the same way whether you were playing as the Kongs or whether you're playing as squawks. So he just didn't want to say player twice there. He wanted to emphasize that like it would still follow you just the same if you were the parrot flying all around. Hang on. Nice. I'll watch that later. You know what? Frick it. This is my stream. I'm gonna pull up my cleaver art. Especially because I have to take a break right now. I have to find it though. There we go. Cleaver when he was alive. But anyway, on that note, I am going to go to the bathroom, and I will get some more water too, and I will see you in a few minutes. You're back. I always have to do this. There we go. Come on, come on. There we go. Yeah, I like to give Kremlings like shoes or protection on their feet in some way, but always have their claws poking out. Because A, that way they can attack with their claws if need be. B, I feel like it would be uncomfortable to shove their claws up in some shoes unless they just really like that for some reason, like Clump does. And C, I don't know, I feel like they would use their claws for, like, balance and stuff, and they kind of, like, need them in the way that, like, if you declaw a cat, they can't, like, you know, balance or walk as well anymore. Do DK64 critters have shoes? I guess they do. I don't know, man. You know, I'm picturing them so clearly in my head, but I can't picture what their feet look like. Do not declaw your Kremlings, please. Sorry, just a minute. Okay. What next? What shall we get to next? Kingsing. Now, again, Kingsing. Hey, not a Kremling. Why are we looking at this? Well, you know what? He's related. I think he's an honorary member. He's important. You know, we love zingers in this stream too. But just a little boss plan for Kingsing. You know, Gregg was really like obsessed with putting squawks into boss battles, and this time it actually worked out in the end. So, hold on. Let me look at this image. Yeah, maybe that's where I got it from, because they do have the like semi like almost, it's like fingerless gloves but for their feet, so that might be where I like subconsciously got that design aesthetic thing from this whole time. Yeah, like, Clump has no problem having those nips out, but he doesn't want people to see his feet. Like, he's self-conscious about his feet, but he has no shame about the nips. I guess maybe that's where he wants to focus the energy. It's like, if you're gonna look at me, my eyes are down here, you know? I want you to be looking at that. Don't be looking at my claws. Alright. So, what I like about this one is that he didn't feel like actually drawing a zinger every time. So he just, like, drew Kingsing as, like, this fuzzy, like, a fuzzy ball. And, like, obviously, yes, in the one where it says hit area, this third illustration here, he drew, like, a disturbingly hyper-realistic, I mean, it just, like, doesn't look cartoony. It's, you know in SpongeBob when they were, like, raising the caterpillar into the butterfly, and then the butterfly lands on them, and it's, like, a close-up, and it really freaks them out? That's what this, zinger reminds me of. Like, if you looked at a zinger close-up, it's just, like, a horrific, like, realistic insect. But in all the rest of them, they were just, like, a cute little fuzzball. Oh, what a little cutie. And this battle is pretty accurate to how it ended up. Wasp is red, angry, and invulnerable in this mode. And after the third hit, in the third attack mode, Wasp explodes. 5 small wasps are set up. A red one surrounded by 4 spinning yellow ones. This whole formation homes in on the player. Yep, this is what happens, alright. Good old Kingsing. I like seeing this because, as I've said many times before, this is like my favorite non-K. Rool boss battle in the entire Donkey Kong series, honestly. I mean, maybe the retro duology has some better ones, but they're too goddamn long. Alright, so, you know, we don't have to spend too much time on this one. I just thought it was cute and interesting. Alright, but this one, however, it is plans for the K. Rool fight. And, again, we gotta zoom in here. Now, if you remember the K. Rool fight plan from DKC, the drawings were, like, so, like, cute and adorable, and he was just, like, this round, small little boy. Yeah, a lot of the remixes, I mean, pretty much all the remixes on this album are really good. There's also a lot with lyrics, and I think I have taken all of those out because I don't like to have songs with lyrics playing when I'm also talking. But yeah, for this one, he went hard with drawing him in a very detailed manner with the shading and all of that, with a pencil. And here he did not chop his leg off, so he decided, you know, maybe he doesn't have a peg leg, actually. But yes, he also draws, you know, he went, like, super hard on that one illustration. He's like, okay, now I'm just gonna draw him as the fuzzball. Gregg Mayles and his fuzzballs. And he carries a stumpy blunderbuss. I like that the blunderbuss had, like, a chain going off of it here. It's kind of interesting. Maybe that was supposed to be, like, the... I don't want anyone to comment on what the chain looks like. I guess it was just supposed to be, like, it feeds the cannonballs into the blunderbuss or something. I don't know. An interesting aesthetic choice there. Yeah, he's holding the sword between his 286-pound butt cheeks. Yeah, the little fuzzy thing with the blunderbuss, it kind of just looks like it has one of those, like, old-timey, like, ear horns, like, to help you hear better. Cranky Kong style. That's Cranky Core. Rubber Sucker Plunger, I think is what that says. Blunderbuss features. Balls! Can't forget about that. But it fires across the screen. Yeah, dodge. You have to dodge them, obviously. Then charges to fetch it. It's a little hard to read some of these, because not only is it blurry, but it's also, like, in pencil, which means it kind of, like, smudges a bit more and is, like, less contrast, so... Sucker... I don't know what vacuums, maybe? No, the sucker knocks player back and slams against the wall. Okay, so Rool can squish you against the wall. Interesting. So, he had a lot of ideas for Rool's multi-purpose blunderbuss here. Okay, wait a second. The sucker punch. It tries to suck player in, then fires something fires out, I think, against side of screen. Kills you. Thrash buttons to escape suck. Rool runs to get you in range before he starts. So, I like the idea that there would be, like, a fist that just comes out of the gun. Like, that was, again, kind of used in DKC3 with the, like, punching, boxing gloves that come out of chaos, I guess. I like to imagine it probably would have, like, turned into a... If they had used this idea, it probably would have become a boxing glove by the end. But it could have been maybe, like, a ghostly magic fist or something. Or just a fist, like, he's just got another Kremling in there, he just punches you. But Rool's obsession with just, punching people... And the cannonballs fires cannonballs. Occasionally one drops out feebly that the player can pick up and chuck back. So, originally instead of, like, the barrels that would let you get the cannonball, it was, like, just a pathetic, sad ball that, you know, sometimes you fire a shot and it doesn't go very far. It's like, meh, and it would just, kind of sadly drop out, and that's when you grab him. Yeah, a lot of these ideas are very, like, comical, like, Joker or like, old school Batman core, where it's just, like, humorous. Like this bang sign, Looney Tunes-esque as well. I don't know what that says, but it says... uses on parade, maybe? So was this just supposed to be for the character parade? It's like a silly little gag. It looks useless, but it flies off and kills Diddy and Dixie and knocks them down, but doesn't kill. Oh, it flies off and hits Diddy and Dixie. So maybe that was supposed to be just like a gag for the end of the game. I don't know. Little pathetic, sad little balls. And then Uses gun as a rocket booster, zooms across the screen. He did end up using that, so that one made it. Fireballs, as used by the sword, so kind of, you know, recycling the same mechanic from Cleaver. You can chuck objects in his gun and then bounce off of him. See, he's actually... He actually got drawn again here instead of just being a fuzzball. God! When he... okay, when the king fires gun and it explodes, was barbecued... He's barbecued, I guess, and he's got hit frames. I think that's... I don't know what that says. I'm gonna guess that it says he's barbecued. I don't think that's what it actually says, though, but... He's blackened, maybe? I don't know. He has both of those things, though. Look at him. He's getting, like, fucking... That's so, like... He's getting obliterated. I made a drawing of him once, like, from the Smash Bros, like, the beginning of the World of Light, when Galeem, like, obliterates everyone, and it was pretty much exactly like this. Like, he is not just getting comically, like, covered in soot like he does in the game. He's getting blasted ass backwards. Like, it's so brutal. And he's like, arr. Yeah, I remember reading that sometimes pirates, when they ran out of, like, cannonballs, you could, like, just stuff stuff in a cannon, like utensils and stuff, and shoot those out, and it would essentially just be, like, shrapnel. And it was not a very safe thing to do, because, as I remember, it could maybe, like, kind of cause injuries on the people operating the cannon, too, or the, like, friendly fire, but if they were desperate. And then, of course, the evil player effect clouds, and slow down player, reverse controls, and freeze. Yep, those are the ones that made it in. So it's interesting because the concept art for the original battle in the first game ended up, with a few very minor differences, ended up being, like, pretty much exactly how it turned out. But this one, he had a bunch more ideas, some of which didn't really end up making it. So he had all these ideas and then, like, refined it down to what made, in my opinion, one of the finest platforming battles of all time. So I guess they picked the right ones to use. Alright. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this one because it's not, like, super Kremling core. It's not super crocodile core, but I just thought it was cute. Like, the original concept for Cranky's Monkey Museum. And it looks like this is cut off, but this is, like, all that Gregg posted, so I don't just have it, like, zoomed in awkwardly, like this is the entire image that he shared. Unfortunately, you can't really see what he wrote below this, but, Cranky sits in his chair, stands with his, Zimmer frame somewhere here. I don't know what... Is that what that says? I don't know what that means. Zimmer means room in German, so I don't know if that has... It's like a game design term. Maybe I'm just reading it incorrectly. I don't know what it actually says. Cranky returns, this time as the curator of his mobile museum. Cranky still drones on about the old days, including DKC, and will try and sell you various items from his museum. Just part of his speech. You can't actually buy them. So yeah, originally there was a lot more shit in here, I guess. Or different shit, at least. I like that just like a patchwork version of Rambi, which... Imagine if, like, Rambi wasn't actually in the game. Because this would suggest that this is Rambi, but he's been, like, dead and, like, horrifically taxidermied. Like, someone did a really, like, awful job. Oh, it's Zimmer frame is a walker. Okay. You know what? I've never heard that term before. Yeah, I don't know why Cranky has lives up in the corner there. I don't know what that was supposed to represent. Maybe the rest of the description would get into that, but unfortunately we don't have it. True. The original Rambi from DKC could have died and been replaced with a new Rambi in DKC 2 from all we know. Like, it's like the Shamu situation. Alright. And then this is just a image of, like, editing and tweaking the map screen using custom tools that Rare had built in-house. I just think it's really, like, cool to look at because it's so, like, old school, and seeing this kind of UI and interface just makes me really happy. Like, they were probably using this to, like, experiment with color palettes and stuff like that. I don't exactly know what they were doing on this specific, you know, moment or whatever, but, this is just like a, I don't know, this is just such a good 90s computer nostalgia image. Yeah, we may be learning some secrets about Rambi here that I didn't want to find out. It's like when you find out you didn't actually just have one goldfish as a kid that lived for like 10 years somehow. Your parents were always just replacing it with a different goldfish. And then, this one, these are just some very early notes on what the story of this game would be. I wonder if this was originally intended to take place literally, like, exactly... Because it kind of makes it sound like it. Literally exactly right where DKC left off. Like, oh, here's what really happened after the end of the game. It wasn't actually a happy ending, because we're starting off here with K. Rool on the Gangplank Galleon, and he just grabs Donkey Kong. But here is where we get Diddy Ann. This is where Diddy Ann comes in. This is a very early... I never had a goldfish as a pet, to be fair. I did have some beta fish, but that was because one was, like, kind of forced upon me, and one I saved from, like, a bad situation, so... But yeah, this was very early on, apparently, because we have Diddy Ann. Can you imagine if they went with that and, like, throughout the entire rest of the Donkey Kong series we had to deal with, like, Diddy Kong and Diddy Ann Kong? I mean, I guess it's kind of equivalent to, like, Toad and Toadette, but still, like... Diddy Ann's Double Trouble. So, K. Rool was going to kidnap Donkey Kong and was also going to kidnap Dixie at the same time, but she was going to just be stuffed in a barrel, and I guess Diddy would be able to free her relatively soon. And K. Rool demands ransom of Diddy for Kong's return. That's interesting. Collect bananas or croc tokens strewn everywhere. Probnanas. Probnanas, you know. So maybe originally they wanted, like, little Krem coin doubloons to be the main collectible in this game instead of having bananas. I feel like that would have been, like, annoying. I mean, so, I don't know, it's like, in Mario there's coins everywhere. You run around collecting coins. The coins are spread all over the levels, but something about DKC using bananas just makes it a lot more, like, naturalistic. Like, obviously it's still silly and arbitrary that there's all these bananas, like, floating in the air and in lines and forming shapes and whatever, but just having them be bananas makes it seem a lot more natural than if they were coins. So if they had sort of replaced that concept of there being bananas everywhere with just, like, little Krem coins, I don't know, I feel like the game just wouldn't be as aesthetically, like, pleasing in the way it all comes together. With the, like, naturalistic backgrounds and stuff. Just having the things you collect be mostly, like, fruits just works, you know? You could be collecting bandanas. Yeah, all the bandanas that the pirate Kremlings have dropped. The sound of collecting a banana in Donkey Kong Country has always been so, like, pleasing. Like, I feel like that should be the sound in real life when you go to the grocery store and you, like, grab a banana off the shelf in the produce department. You should just make that noise. Here's some concept art of Cranky, which, you know, is an important part of Crocodile Isle, so I thought we would look at it. I don't think there were, like, some other level plans and stuff. I don't think I necessarily saved every single instance of DKC2 concept art that he had posted, but everything that I thought was at least somewhat relevant for our purposes. So yeah, the background being just full of, like, junk. And there's a little crockhead poking out there if you see him. Cute. Most of the screen is swamp. So yeah, I just like how choked Cranky is with just junk in the background. There's just parts of sunken ships sticking out, masts and whatnot. There's tires, there's oil drums, pollution and all that. Yeah, he's really not Sage. Like, especially I feel like the concept art for this game, he like stepped it up a ton. I will say he's working more with pencil for this, which obviously has its own downsides because it's like kind of easier to like smudge it and stuff, and it kind of can, over time, pencil can kind of like fade and wear down a lot easier. So it's actually really cool that this has been preserved as well as it has, because obviously working in pencil allows you to have more variable like weight and shading and stuff. So crockhead. Any crockheads in the chat? Sometimes the screen is very faded and green, has no distinctive objects, just bushes, old mast rigging. Sky is misty and green, twisted bushes and twigs at the front, swamp surface capable of stepping up and down like that. Yeah, so there's like little dams that are formed with the roots and stuff. The jetty is covered in slime, so you can't see plank joints, make surface slippery for Diddy. Oh, so they originally wanted to have like sort of ice physics because the piers are supposed to be so like slimy and grimy. I'm glad that wasn't the thing, honestly. I'm looking at these bullet points on the left here and the one on the bottom, the second from the bottom. This maybe you can use a something table system to construct maps, i.e. swamp boat. I'm not sure what it says as far as what the word is before table system. But yeah, like, the swamp levels are very, like, dense, and I think that's the main thing he wanted to get across here with these concepts, is there's just, like, they're just full of stuff. Like, he didn't want the swamps to be boring, because I do feel like that's something that swamp levels in video games can kind of easily fall into. It's just like, oh, it's a bunch of green water and some, like, platforms or something. Everything's just kind of green, and there's lily pads or something, but you know, maybe some turtles or something that you can jump on. But he wanted there to be a ton of stuff on screen and it to just be feeling very like full, and that this swamp was just kind of like full of garbage and stuff, and I think they pulled that off very successfully in the end. I think Gregg Mayles must like swamps a lot because there's also Bubble Gloop Swamp in Banjo-Kazooie. He's a real swampert. Swamp expert. Number table system. That's probably what it says, yeah. No, it's okay. I know you're not getting terribly off topic like that one other time. It's alright. Alright, here's some Cranky comments, which this is not really super relevant, but I thought it was funny to bring up. So some of these I think did make it into the game, but not all of them did. But this was some early ideas for stuff Cranky could say when you come to visit him. His initial greeting: "Come and say hello to your old grandpappy Cranky. I'm back by popular demand to offer you my wealth of game-playing wisdom for this unnecessary sequel." Yeah, well, it is important. It's not necessarily important for Kremling history, but his, yeah, well, I hope I don't have to do that again, though. You better be on your best behavior. Yeah, I guess he's just using grandpappy as, like, a general, like, I'm an old man. He's the universal grandpappy of the Kongs. After
my starring role in DKC, I thought I'd be the main character this time, not stuck in this gloomy shed.
What sort of a name is Diddy Ann anyway? I agree. You know, I'm glad they didn't go with that one.
In my day, you were lucky if you had a name at all.
And then he was like I don't know if he ever actually said anything this like harsh in the game itself, but he's like,
girl heroes in video games? Ah! I can't believe it! The main character should be really muscly and carry guns, not twirl their hair around.
We get it, Cranky. You're into muscle men. We see you.
Try all you like. This game will never be as good as DKC, which was rubbish anyway. Just because DKC sold a few lousy copies, I have to be included in another ludicrous adventure. It's the last time, I tell you.
Exactly. We know Cranky's got K-Rool on speed dial.
I'd have never been kidnapped in my day. Not like that fat fool donkey. I don't even get 2 screens to stand in. That slacker Funky's got 2, so why can't I? Pa, does Funky have 2?
I don't think he does.
Give up now before the kids realize you're not as popular as Donkey was. Where's Espresso gone? A clumsy spider and a fat parrot. Is that the best they can think of?
I agree, though. Where has Espresso gone? I feel you on that one, Cranky. Cranky is one of those people who doesn't realize that his misogyny may come from a place that he is not ready to examine within himself. Alright, and here's what I hinted towards earlier. Did you know that originally Donkey Kong Country 2, they wanted to have more banana-themed animals in it? And the banana bird ended up getting used in DKC 3, and none of these others ever saw the light of day, but they essentially... Gregg has always kind of had this, like, fascination with things that you have to chase down and catch, because originally that's what the Jinjos and Banjo-Kazooie were supposed to do as well. They weren't able to make that work out in the end, but that was the whole idea behind, like, a living collectible, was that it wasn't just something that would stand there and yell at you, but originally they were supposed to, like, run around and you had to chase them down. So that was the idea here. There would be banana animals that would give you even more bananas. So there'd be a banana bird, the banana butterfly. I kind of want to draw all of these. I'll just put it on my giant pile of stuff that I would like to draw. Banana rat. It crawls medium. And the banana fish, it swims medium. The banana bat. The banana bug. The banana snail. The banana hopper, like a grasshopper. And the banana frog. I think this is, yeah, this is just where it's cut off. The banana seahorse. The banana kangaroo. And the banana eel. Which one is your favorite? Which one of these bananimals is your favorite bananimal? I like snails, and I like the idea of a banana snail, I think. It just kind of, like, curls around, just like a very long banana that curls in on itself. Yeah, the banana eel, you'd think it wouldn't have to have, like, a separate, like, sort of tail thing. It could have all just, like, tapered off into one. I mean, there are essentially eels that already look like bananas, that especially look like rotten bananas, and I bet K-Rool loves those. And he should have some of those. We talked about this at some point before on one of our mini Bonanza streams, I think, but K-Rool should have some minions in the future that are those just, like, yellow eels with brown spots on them. It does look like Dragon Kazooie a bit, yeah. Yeah, and in fact, speaking of ukulele, with the Ghost Riders in the first ukulele, they were able to finally kind of have that concept of, like, living collectibles that were there, like, 5 in each level or whatever, but you had to do specific things with them to interact with them instead of just collecting a static thing. Yo, Mr. Thie, thank you. By the time you hit the funny number, my, hopefully my alerts will be working again, because they're not right now, but I appreciate it. Funny number 1, and then 2 months later you get another one. But, I don't know. Oh yeah, ukulele. For all of ukulele's flaws, the first game anyway, it did have some cool stuff that they were able to kind of finally integrate, especially like older ideas that maybe they've been sitting on for a really long time. Yeah, Banana Bat, it doesn't even have like eyes or anything. I mean, I guess it uses echolocation. What's interesting to me is that all of these seem to have like a little, you know, like you have the little stickers that are put on bananas, like the Chiquita sticker or whatever. That they all appear to have that on them. Or they all just have like one spot, but I think it's supposed to be like a little sticker, which is cute. Yeah, I haven't played the remaster yet either. Alright. I think we're gonna save Klubba for the end, but we don't actually have that much other stuff to get to. These were some very early, just like cool ideas that Gregg had for levels. Oops. So I just kind of wanted to show this because what I found interesting, and when he originally tweeted this, as a lot of people pointed out to him in the replies of his tweet, was he had the idea for a silhouette level long before the retro games, and I'm guessing they probably did not have access to this when they were like making Donkey Kong Country Returns. So it was a pure coincidence that something that ended up being like super iconic now to the modern Donkey Kong series, the same idea was had all the way back here. If you look in the bottom left here, and it would have been, can you imagine like seeing a silhouette level like that on the SNES? Like that would have been super cool to see. I don't really know if there were any like technical limitations preventing that. Probably not. They probably just thought that maybe like, you know, it wasn't worth doing, or maybe it was just a little like too hard to like read what was going on necessarily. But I just think that's super cool. And then let's start at the top and work down. So there would be, yeah, the lava swim level became lava lagoon, more or less. Because, yeah, he talked about it, like, changing colors to indicate when it was safe to swim in or not. I would guess that originally it was just going to be, like, a timing thing. Like, it would be, you know, you're hot, then you're cold. Like, it would be hot, and then it would gradually get cooled off, and then it would get hot again, instead of it having, like, an actual mechanic to interact with that would make it cooler and safer, which ended up being Clapper. Oh, yeah, the zip lines. We'll get there. So number one made it in, basically. The vertical bird. It kind of seems like just a very narrow... It's almost like Parrot Shoot Panic, except in reverse. Like, you just have to go up the whole time. And you're in control of, like, how quickly you rise and everything. And there are segments of, like, different Squawks levels where it essentially functions like this. Like, Squawks' Shaft. I would say, you know, if this made it into a level most distinctly, it would be Squawks' Shaft. But, you know, there's sections of Bramble Scramble and stuff that kind of play like that, too. Where there's just kind of a vertical segment with Squawks where you know, don't necessarily know what's coming, so you gotta kind of take it cautiously. The steam pipes would be suited to the Kremling's flying machine engine room. So originally, maybe they planned to have some levels in Krocodile, or in the Flying Croc, instead of just Screech's Sprint, which kind of takes place on the exterior of it. And you could jump on the steam would rise and fall, and... yeah, it's just one of those classic things where you're just kind of like riding steam or like water fountains things that go up and down. In the silhouette level we talked about. The hand cart, yes, used in Banjo-Tooie. Yeah, I guess this would have just been like the minecart levels, except maybe with more like input required, which kind of just seems annoying. And then the Pogo Snake Beetlejuice comeback. Does Beetlejuice have like a springing snake in it? No, I guess the game Beetlejuice, because that was made by Rare, like the Game Boy Beetlejuice game. Is that like where the mechanics for Rattly came from? Does that have a pogo snake in it? I've never played that game, but if so, that's interesting. So the original plan for Rattly here, he bounces along level, you know. Concertina's in the middle like a spring, so he's comparing it to an accordion. And it's interesting that this was in just like the level ideas instead of like, well, I guess this is just general ideas. So just stuff he wanted to put in the game because he thought it was cool. Yeah, I gotta look into the Beetlejuice game now. It's just one of those things that like secretly influenced the DKC games, like one of those early Rare games that you didn't even know. Only the real devotees knew about it, I guess, which I didn't. But it's kind of like how the Gangplank Galleon intro was like a remixed version of a song that Dave Wise wrote for some earlier Rare pirate game. An inner tube ride. Diddy is straight up just chillin'. Alternative to a barrel. I mean, I guess, like, alternative to a barrel in what sense? Like, I mean, I guess you could ride a barrel in the water, or stand on a barrel in the water, or you could be in an inner tube. The zip lines, meh. My nemesis. Very fast, must come up with easy to control system, yes, and you jump gaps and you transfer to other ropes. I do feel like this made it into DKC3 also, because they weren't traditional zip lines in the sense you think of like you're holding onto the thing, but it does have those conveyor belt ropes, and they do quickly take you one direction or the other, and you have to jump between them. Yeah, maybe it was like in The Hobbit where they are hiding in the barrels and they escape and they go down the river. And the balloon barrel, I guess originally the Red Hot ride wouldn't have just been a barrel you stand on. It would have been a, like, hot air balloon sort of thing where I guess they needed it to be more obvious that, like, the vent would go up into the balloon itself. Negotiate maze. Or this was maybe more of, like, a tanked up trouble type situation where you would just kind of collect the air as you went to give you more fuel. Negotiate maze-like structure. It kind of sounds like it ended up being that one bonus from Fiery Furnace that I hate so much. Yeah, so it was based on that earlier pirate song, which was, I think, based on something else even before that. Something that had inspired Dave Wise. And then some more ideas. Barrel hopping. Constant stream of floating barrels to the left. You progress to the right. Maybe this is what the alternative to the barrels he was talking about for the inner tube was. I don't know. And it says some barrels are actually crocodiles, like Frogger. So maybe instead of crockheads being helpful, they were originally going to be a hazard and you had to make sure to not jump on them, but... Or you were... I guess maybe he's saying that you did jump on them, and essentially the barrels just got entirely replaced with crockheads at the end, because we love seeing more crocodiles, you know? Just put more crocodiles in the game. You can never have enough. Replace those barrels with crocodiles. In fact, instead of being any barrels at all, you should always just throw crocodiles at people. And then a water level where the water moves up and down. I feel like that's a pretty standard idea. But it, you know, I don't really think it got used in the game, except for the fact that, like, there are some levels where the water kind of lowers once you get past a certain point, but there's not one where it's, like, going up and down constantly. A water currents level. This, actually, interestingly enough, there is a level like that in the remake of Donkey Kong Country 3 on the Game Boy Advance, where they essentially kind of repurposed wind mechanics into an underwater level. Well, the water does rise in slime climb, but you're not swimming in it, which is the idea in this second one here, is that you'd be swimming in the water as it kind of goes up or down. And then this one in the bottom here, both the ceiling and the floor move up and down. You hide in the gaps and they go, oh, so this is like the Super Mario World cave levels where there's like those yellow parts that are kind of like, you know, and then you gotta like run along them and then hide in the little gaps. Maybe just a little too similar to Super Mario World there. I think that's also used in maybe like, I don't know, maybe Super Mario Bros. 3 also has stuff like that. I don't remember. I'm much more well versed in Super Mario World than SMB3. Yeah, instead of barrels, the Kongs are trapped in like a clamp on or something, and you have to like jump on it and they like spit them out like bleh. Moving left wall. Oh, so this is just one of those things where it's like, oh, sorry, I skipped the pinball tires. That's sounds kind of fun, but kind of like frantic. I guess a barrel would just like shoot you in a direction and you're just like spraying all over the place. I guess they kind of just kind of got around that by having like the automatically firing barrels that would just fire you in different directions. I don't think this actually has singing in it, it just has the voice line. Okay, so this next one here I think is just a wall that would be pushing you along. So, they kind of did this with Castle Crush, except it moves upwards, so maybe it was just easier to do that, for whatever reason, than having it coming in from the left. Barrels on rails. Yes, it's a barrel level! He's so excited about it. Yes! It should be a crocodile level. Follow set tracks indicated by rails, squares, circles, rectangles, triangles. So basically, the barrels would just be going along, like, different shaped paths and stuff. Follow my leader. Bit weird. Player controls bird, not player. Player follows bird, both with a noticeable lag. All timing needs to be lagged as DK Diddy Kong doesn't do exactly what bird does at the same time. Can bird be hit? Probably not, maybe. That's interesting. So you were controlling squawks, I guess, and then Diddy would be, like, following behind you in sort of like a... It's like the mini Marios from the other game I'm playing right now. Kind of a Lemmings-esque situation. That would have been interesting to see. Extremely complicated, though, and I feel like if they had actually implemented it, it would be one of those levels that everyone hates and doesn't want to actually do, and the speedrunners would hate it. Alright, and then we've got some other random ideas here. This is just literally just stuff that they considered putting in the game at some point. Probably when they were already like a decent amount of way into development. So it says Cloak who throws something. I don't know. Cloak who throws... What does that say? I have no idea. But it does say, could he throw hooks and follow a set route, so player has to keep up with him. So just imagine like a cloak floating along, but he like throws the hooks out behind him and you have to like just follow him through the air. That's neat. Pears. I mean, pears are one of my least favorite fruits, so if he was throwing pears out, I would be kind of upset. You know, he could be throwing something good like bananas, but instead he's throwing pears at me. Like, come on. It looks like plats, like platforms. Okay. A cloak who throws platforms out or hooks. So basically, I think it's plats, just the shortened form of platforms. There's some way that, like, the cloak would create the platforms for you when you would follow him. And I think this, again, I don't know what this says. Bomb bar in chest? Or it might be ball. I have no idea what this second one is talking about, like, at all. Cannonball, like a cannonball? Can bar that fires to bomb bar in chat. I don't know. Bobar? Benadryl? I don't know. Donkey and Cranky team up or rivals. Okay. So once again with predicting like future games, we got this, you know, much later on. Originally there was an idea even back here that maybe Cranky could be riding on DK's back or something. This must have been like just some random idea for like very early in development or for a future game or something. Just like, hey, what if Cranky, and he uses sticks for moves and his beard maybe. Okay, so his again, very interesting how a lot of these early ideas predicted like future DK games in some interesting ways. And to me, you could say like, oh, it's just a pure coincidence because again, I don't think anyone at Retro Studios had access to these notes, but I think it's more like if you look at these characters and what they can do and everything, like you might come to like similar fun conclusions about what you can do with them. And it's like, yeah, why not have Cranky teaming up with his son/grandson, and of course he would use his walking stick in some way. I think it's interesting they wanted him to use his beard as well. So I'm just imagining like the way Dixie picks up things with her hair, like Cranky would be holding on to hooks with his beard or like picking up barrels with his beard or something. Maybe Bombar could be an early name for Kaboom or something, but I don't understand what can bar that fires to Bombar in chest means whatsoever. Yeah, maybe Cranky was supposed to be like some extra post-game like secret character or something. Maybe once you got all of the hero coins, you could play with Cranky, play as Cranky. In Cranky's museum, can get a cheat for Killer Instinct on the SNES. Oh man, they were gonna have a stop and swap with Killer Instinct. Like, you could play DKC2 to get a cheat for Killer Instinct. One that we tell no one, though, and it's super special. Oh man, they weren't even gonna tell the Nintendo Power about this one. You had to just play the game and find out. Yeah, that's so cool. I wish they had done that. Animal bonus games versus... Oh, so this is Screech's Sprint originally, I guess. Maybe they okay, so it sounds like they wanted to originally have, like, more rival animal buddies, and you would compete against them. And they were all actually done by it. So, yeah, so, like, the way Screech is not, like, some kind of artificial intelligence that's just kind of going through the level on its own. It's just, like, a set path that he goes on. And it sounds like they wanted to have more of those that were kind of just... If you consider Screech's Sprint essentially just like a race against a ghost, like you might have in a racing game, where you're just trying to beat their time. Like, they wanted to have more of those with other rival... See, I'm telling you, the idea of, like, Kremling animal buddies that are, like, specific rivals to the specific Kong animal buddies, like Screech's for Squawks, they needed to do more with that. There's still time. They can still do more with this idea. I think it's great. And then, a Firefly. So, when Squawks was graduated to be more important, they could have replaced Squawks, the idea of just a little guy who, like, lights up the world. I mean, they ended up doing that with Glimmer, but only in a water level. We could have had a Firefly instead. Again, with Gregg Mayles drawing these, like, disturbing insects, he must not like, flies and insects very much, because he always draws them really creepy looking. Secret access is marked on map. Got to get path to hit it. I don't understand what that means exactly, but something about indicating the way that you've done every bonus, which did end up getting done with an exclamation mark, but instead it would be like dots that came out of the level, I guess. Oh, maybe, okay. Maybe they wanted there to be like secret levels, but in order to... Like, it was a real, like, tangible way to actually get to the secret level. So imagine there's, like, you know, the level that you're in, and then the bonus level is kind of like over there elsewhere on the map. And every time you get a bonus in the level that you're in, it forms like a little like stepping stone. It forms like a, think of like in a Donkey Kong Country, those like weird little circles that form like the path. So you had to like, once you collected all the bonuses and all of the stepping stones would form, and you'd be able to go over on the map screen to the bonus level. That's actually really neat. That would have been a cool way to implement that. Banana fuel vehicle. That's all you gotta say about that one. You don't need to say anything else. Banana fuel vehicle. Perfect. No notes. Except for that note in itself. Hung the bugs bonus level, same as normal, but bugs deliberately put in to find. I don't know, you just have to find bugs? Okay, I don't know. Wait. Like bugs is in... like they were gonna make the game like mess up and you had to like break the game. I don't know. I don't know if they're talking about like literal bugs or like game bugs. You have to use wrong warps in this level. You have to figure out how to get an invisible item. Yeah, I mean, I'm just moving this thing all over the place. If you get animal to end, could be special animal bonus that does something at end. Yeah, they you know, didn't have the like no animal signs in the first game. You just could take the animal out of the level and then they just wouldn't be there in the next one. But here, they introduced the system of having the signs, but if you got the animal all the way there, they would turn into something. So they did implement that one. How many of these were actually implemented? I mean, the upper right one, but only in Screech's sprint. The animals giving you something. Possibly the second one, because I have no fucking idea what it means. Wasp 1. Chasing wasps, jump in safe pools of water. Pools of water. That's scary. That, oh, this is a, what's it called? The stupid Brash Bear level. In Donkey Kong Country 3. This is the, Riverside Race. The little bugs are chasing you, and if you're in the water, you're safe. But this one is my favorite on this whole page, because it's just Kremling with hat on. The most important idea, Kremling with hat on, runs off, you must catch up and steal his light. So it's just a Kremling with like a, you know, one of those like mining helmets that has the light in front. Bonanza reference. And he would just be running around, and Gregg was always obsessed with like creatures that cast light for you, whether it be Squawks or Glimmer or this little fly guy or whatever. Or a Kremling that just runs around and you have to catch up with him because he's the one who has the light and he's running away from you. Yeah, I feel like some of these were maybe from DKC and some of these are maybe from DKC2, and this is just a collection of sticky notes that he had made over the, you know, course of development of both of those games, and he just kind of collected them all together. Because I feel like some of these are maybe more DKC relevant, like up in the Cranky one it also mentions Donkey specifically, and that appears to be DK down here chasing the Kremling with hat on. And the next one is about like when you're swaying on the edge, like doing the whoa thing, the screen scrolls down so you can see the like if there's a hidden bonus down there or something, which I don't think ended up actually happening, which would have probably been helpful for a lot of things. Swamp swim, the sluggish reactions for swim. Get on guard so it can swim, move normally. So the swamp level, like the underwater levels in the swamp, Glimmer's Galleon essentially, basically the only one, could have been a lot more annoying, because imagine Glimmer's Galleon, but you also move slower and have like delayed reactions and stuff. Ugh. Alright. We're about to hit the mandated break time, so I am going to go ahead and take the break now, and you can continue to look at Kremling with hat on. When you get back, we just have a little bit left to look at, and then... Actually, I think this is it. When we get back, we're talking about Klubba, because this is the last other thing I have. Well, Klubba and Mr. X. We'll talk about them when I get back from my break, after we get through the rest of these little ideas. So, I will see you in a few minutes. Alright. Yeah, when is Gregg Mayles gonna release the Krusha and Clump sex tape? Alright, where did we leave off? Some sort of save if you fall off an edge system. Like a power-up that throws the second player back up on the screen. So that's nice, just like a... It's like the way the balloons work in Bonanza, you know? Like, if you fall off, you can just get a little save there. Jumping around inside clouds, you constantly jump or will sink. That's interesting. I feel like, what am I thinking of that does kind of have that mechanic? It's kind of like the way quicksand works in a lot of games, except you're like in it, you know? Then... So again with the evil animal rival thing, except instead of a race, it's more like they are competing against you in a Mr. Vile style minigame to get more... Okay, I'm not talking about water. I'm talking about, like... I feel like there is some kind of mechanic in, like, a 2D platformer that I'm thinking of where you're, like... You're not swimming, but you're, like, you have to, like, jump, and you're kind of, like, sinking down. But you have to, like, keep jumping, and you'll keep, like, going. I don't know, it's, like, kind of the way that, like, when you're controlling, like, Kirby, and he's, like, floating and puffing along. But I don't think I'm thinking of that. I think I'm thinking of something else where you're, like, physically in a substance, but I don't know. I don't know. I've never played Sonic Colors, so it wouldn't be that. Alright, auto hook similar to auto barrel. So it's just like a hook you grab onto, but it spins around. And, it's kind of semi-random, interesting. I feel like it kind of throwing you off in just like a weird random direction kind of evolved into the Cat O' Nine Tails. Super nasty mini necky. Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like I'm not thinking of like a mechanic, like the cape or like just Kirby, but I'm thinking of like a specific, like you're in some kind of like gelatinous substance or something and you kind of go, I don't know, maybe I'm just conflating different things. The super nasty mini necky, again with a little blob fuzz is back. Swoops, picks up player, and chucks off edge. This was again a idea that was had for like a Kremling from the first game, where they would have like a jetpack and they would just be flying around and they could like grab you and drop you somewhere. He really wanted to make this happen. And the super nasty mini necky's like, heh. And then, play level as Funky, Cranky, Candy, limited frames on special levels. Yeah, he was trying to get new Funky mode in there. Maybe we'll get new Candy mode someday. That's how they're gonna bring Candy back. When you kill Special Clump, leaves Cannonball. Clump is always Special Clump in my heart. Kill baddie to get required objects. So interesting, like the cannonballs that you needed for the bonuses and stuff, or to like break open walls or whatever. Originally you might have needed to kill like cannons to get his balls. You steal his balls clean off of him, and you go use those. Did Super Mario Land 2 have something like that? It might have. I've only played through that game once, but... Balloon squawks. Floats, not flies. Man, Squawks using the baboon balloon. Big boy Squawks. You know, that might be exactly what I'm thinking of. I'm just gonna go with that. Yeah, because there was like tree sap stuff, right? I think that is exactly what I'm thinking of. I'm gonna say that's correct. Good job, everybody. Thank you, Jero. I will keep that in mind. I will open that link up for use later. Team power-up, homing throw on baddies and bonuses, so... They did use the team power-up. Doesn't really, like, home on people necessarily, but... And then, make sure some levels have bonuses access from the floor in the roof. Yeah, I don't know what that means specifically. Like, you have to break through the floor to get it or something? Like Kiddy Kong style? Alright, well. That's that. Say goodbye to Kremling with hat on. And I think that is all I had. So we are doing it. We are going back to Klubba. There he is. We'll zoom in a bit here so you can see the whole thing here, but we will zoom in on the details. So, for those of you who didn't know, and we've brought this up several times in past streams just because it's so interesting. Originally in Crocodile Core, instead of it being a refight with Captain K. Rool, it was going to be a battle against Klubba himself. So, you know, Gregg Mayles one day just posted this, refused to elaborate, left, you know, like, he didn't give a lot of details on why this would have happened, like, plot-wise, or what Klubba's deal was, but, all we know, really, is that the original plan was that Klubba would be the final bonus boss in the game. So there's a lot of theories and headcanons and, you know, fan ideas you could have about this. Now, personally, as much as I love Klubba, and I do love him so much, I like that it turned out the way it did. Like, you know, so essentially instead of having this fight, they kind of just repurposed it into Cudgel, who is a recolor of Klubba and Klubba's twin brother, probably. But I'm glad you don't have to actually, like, fight Klubba, because he's my friend, and I don't want to hurt him. And I like him being more of a, like, morally gray, nebulous character instead of someone that just ends up attacking you at the end anyway. Also, Klubba had nips in this. He drew in the nips. Can you see him? Nipple watch. Bring back the Klubba nips if we ever see him again. So let's just go through this first before we end up theorizing too much about it. Klubba drops in at the start, the screen shakes, player can't move, Klubba insults player via on-screen text. See, I don't want Klubba to be mean to me. He leaps off screen after whistling. Don't know why he's whistling, but okay. Baddies appear in puff of smoke somewhere on the screen. So he's got ads. Klubba's got a whole crew here. He's got little buddies that were working with him. What do you think Klubba's friends are? Because he just drew them as the little fuzzballs. It says they will, you know, be varied and increase in difficulty. So you think he's got some zinger pals, he's got some, like, necky pals, you know? That's true, he's whistling to call them in. Yeah, that makes sense. My power is flickering again. If I lose power now, I'm gonna lose my mind. Upon killing the last of the baddies, and so, you know, this was supposed to be the original, like, bonus battle at the end of the game. And as we know now, it's cool. I love the secret battle in DKC2, but it is a lot short. It's pretty brief. This was going to be a lot more, like, involved, like a true, like, escalation. It was going to be a pretty long battle. And upon killing the last of the baddies, an object is set up in the center of the screen to throw at Klubba. The object will vary. And then he comes back in. He's fucking mad. He bellows before drops and is angry red. See, here's the thing. Klubba is so goddamn, like, mean and mad in this. It makes me... I'm like, this isn't you, Klubba. Have a Snickers. This isn't the Klubba I know and love. Like, he's so angry. He drops in after a short delay. If you're on the floor when he lands, he aims to land next to you. You'll be immobilized. So that did carry over into the Cudgel battle, where if you're on the ground when he lands, you'll get stunned temporarily. And any carried object will be dropped and land. So yeah, if you're carrying a barrel or whatever. This isn't the... Klubba, you're not the man I married. After a short delay, Klubba will swing his club. Player recovers prior to swing, so if the end of his club range, you could have time to dodge it. And you should jump to avoid the immobilization effect. If you throw a barrel at him, it'll either break or bounce off, depending on what it is. Klubba jumps back off screen, then lands again and swings, and he does this 3 times. After 3 bounces and swings, Klubba stands still and taps club. enabling player to hit him with the object. And, yeah, so you know, they basically just kind of repurposed all of this bottom part into Cudgel. They didn't have the part where he was, like, bringing in additional baddies, because that would have been, like, absurdly complicated for just a regular boss at the end of a world. And then later stage, Klubba drops and swings and hops across, lands, shakes screen, swings again, hops and swings a third time. Height of hop varies too. Small hops are very tricky. When Klubba dies, screen shakes and explosions appear all around the power source and top of stairs. Rocks fly off. Power source flashes and flickers and fades. Player runs off screen as rocks and debris starts to fall. Goes to super end sequence. Now, as far as I could see, he's never posted any concept art for, like, the, you know, true ending of the game or what the story of that would be. But, I mean, the implication here is that they, I guess, had it planned that Crocodile Isle was going to be destroyed here after this battle, which is, you know, what ended up happening in the final game, except not with Klubba. And so we do have an interesting glimpse into an alternate universe here that we could have got. Because let's imagine for a second, you know, that this is how it had happened. And you end up fighting Klubba at the end of the game instead of Rool. Now, I talked about this before, but this would have kind of, like... So if the game played exactly the same up until this point, essentially, we wouldn't know that Rool had, like, actually survived, because he gets knocked down at the end and all the sharks are biting him and stuff. So if he doesn't turn up again here, it's like, is he just dead? Like, is that the end of him? And then obviously you'd have to wait until the next game to see if that was the case or not. Now, that kind of actually could have been an even bigger twist to lead into DKC3. Because as it is, you know, Rool survives, and he even survives. We see that he survives getting knocked into the core because he is sailing away on his little boat at the end and laughing. And then in Donkey Kong Country 3, it's like, oh, the Kremlings have a mysterious new leader who's this janky, stupid-looking robot, and Rool is nowhere to be seen. But then at the end, it's like, just kidding! He was here the whole time. And we're all like, yeah, nobody saw that coming. But imagine if you thought he was dead. Imagine if, for all we knew, he was dead coming out of this game. Like, you know, last we see of him, he falls off an entire island and gets eaten by sharks, supposedly, and we just don't see him again. And then in the next game, it's like, oh, there's a robot? Sure, the Kremlings built a robot, somebody built a robot, and they're just, whatever. And then, oh, it's Rool, you're alive, you're back, you have a stupid fake hair now, and you're married, great. But I'm so happy to see you. That would have been a, like, real, actual twist. I do like the ending of the game as it is. I think it is really important for it to be Rool who causes the destruction of Crocodile Isle, because of his, like, greed and his hubris in kidnapping Donkey Kong and the fact that he has to get revenge and he just won't let it go. Like, not only do I think that makes a better ending thematically, but, like, it ends up being so important for his character going forward, because he caused that. He caused the destruction of his island, of his people's island, and so going forward, he becomes much more focused on, like, getting destruction and revenge, whether that be, you know, blowing up all of Donkey Kong Island in DK64, or in Bonanza, just finding himself in New Donk City and deciding I will destroy this too, since I'm here, you know? So, I do think the way it worked out, and maybe it's just because I'm attached to it after a whole lifetime of it, but I do think what they chose in the end was the correct path to go with having it be Rool, but I mean, unless, yeah, Rool did step in at the end of this fight and just end up being the one who ultimately falls into the core anyway. But yeah, the idea of fighting Klubba here could have been interesting in its own way, but Klubba would have ended up being a completely different character from how I do interpret him and how I've interpreted him my whole life, and I didn't know about this whole plan. I don't think anyone did until, I think he posted this in, like, 2015, so it's been a while. You know, we've known about this for, like, 10 years, but my mind was blown, I even replied to this tweet where he posted it, to find out that, you know, there could have been a battle with Klubba here, but, there's no question that if this had been a real thing, the fandom would interpret his character a whole lot differently. Whatever his reasons were for, like, attacking the Kongs at the end of the game. Because there's a few different things. It could have been, like, you know, he was playing the long game the whole time. Like, he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He wanted to get all of their money off of them to let them into the core and have them ultimately do all the levels to open the core, and then he wanted to go in there for his own purposes. Maybe to, like, usurp Rool, especially now that Rool was presumably dead. You know, maybe there's something you need to do in the core to, like, initiate yourself as the king, so he wanted to get in there and sort of, like, ascend, maybe. Or he wasn't playing the long game, but he realized that, you know, he was kind of just, due to his own willingness to take the Kong's money and bribes, he was letting them into a place where they shouldn't be, and that he, like, regrets it. At the very end, he's like, you know, I don't actually want them to be in our, like, most sacred shrine, because they could get in there and fuck it up and cause trouble, so I have to stop them now that they're in there. But as it stands in the game, the Klubba that we eventually got being he's definitely not like, oh, what a good softie, what a nice gentle guy, because if you don't have money and you try to fight him, he will just smack you out of there with his big old club. But, you know, he works for Captain Rool, but it's interesting those little glimpses of his character you get in there where he seems to be developing a little bit of a soft spot for the Kongs by saying some nice things to them and seeming to have a little fondness. And maybe it's just because they're bringing him money. You know, that's a good reason as any to develop a fondness for someone if they're paying you. But like, I don't know, he's more of a complex character, even though we just get to see like little glimpses of that. And the most important thing that Klubba gives us probably is the indication that Rool's minions are unhappy with him, and a lot of them see him as like a despotic leader who is rotten, to use that exact word that he uses. And they mostly just follow him out of like obligation and fear, and a lot of them aren't like very enthusiastic about it. They're just, you know, afraid of him. Which is interesting because even Klubba, who's this, like, extremely burly... And yeah, it totally makes sense that he could have been planned to be a secret final boss or something, because this guy is fucking ripped. He's huge. He's one of the most, like, physically intimidating-looking Kremlings that there is. Like, why does he even work for Fatso, to quote the Kasplat from DK64? But he does, because that's how, like, cunning and scary Rool is, that he can even have someone like Klubba under his thumb. But because of that, he is obviously a very fascinating character, and I think that's why he captivates a lot of fans of this game. Because he is also, like, the first and only Kremling that you really get to talk to in any of these games. Aside from Rool's ransom note, I guess he's like the first Kremling that actually has dialogue in a Donkey Kong game. And you know, he's just an NPC. You get to visit him, talk to him, and he's an actual character, which, you know, who's not just like a baddie who's trying to defeat you or something, which makes him very endearing. Yeah, you could link it, and that person was also in the chat earlier, but I don't know if they're still here, but got all the Klubba fans in here today. But, you know, there aren't so many, like, as we've talked about again and again, it's kind of complicated, because when it comes to the Kremlings being individuals or not, if you look at the way they're described in, like, supplementary materials and the instruction manuals and stuff, they're often described as like, oh, Cutlass is he. Cutlass is like there's one guy, he ordered his swords from a TV commercial or whatever. Like, there's one Cutlass, he's one guy. But then obviously if you look in the game, there's like a lot of them on screen at once, so it doesn't really make sense. So the line between like individual and if it's just like a family or a subclass or like a subspecies or whatever is very blurry. And when it comes to Kremlings that we can definitively say, like, yes, there is only one of them. Hi, Rainbow, how's it going? There's only one. This is a distinctive, definitive character. Especially early on, like before Barrel Blast added just a bunch of them. There weren't that many. And Klubba was like one of the early ones that actually did exist where you could say, yes, there is one guy. He's just this one character. It's him. Hi, Bonobo. What's up? We're actually almost done here, but I had to give my thoughts on Klubba as a secret final boss. So, at the end of the day, if this had happened, like, I would have still, you know, like, it would have been, I guess, a lateral move, I guess. As much as I talked about how important it was that Rool has his rematch here, like, I'm sure I would have loved the game just as much, and it would just be... It would just have, like, a different kind of, like, fascination for me, and there would just be different character things you could read out of it. And Klubba wouldn't have been a character I would necessarily like less. He would just be a different type of interesting to me than he is currently. Yeah, well, I mean, so in DKC, aside from the Kremlings being talked about, like, oh, this is Clump and this is Krusha, whatever, but you could see a lot of them on screen at the same time. I guess, like, Rool was really the only distinctive single character. And then here you get, like, the same situation, but you also have Klubba. And then, obviously, there were more individuals, but they came later on after this. Okay, Lumpy. So yeah, I mean, if anyone has anything they want to say about this guy, feel free, but I think I've said my piece by this point. At the end of the day, I love the game how it is and how they decided to end it, and I love what it means for Rool's character, and I love what it means for Klubba's character that he isn't the type to actually try to kill you at the end of the day. I think where the game actually ends up kind of suggests that he is neutral on the Kongs, or maybe even developed a little bit of the fondness for them, and I like to think of him, Klubba, as sort of leading, like, a secret little rebel band of Kremlings who didn't like Rool very much and maybe wanted to form their own little faction, maybe secretly even as early as this game, but, like, definitely afterwards with all the survivors and stragglers of this Crocodile Isle explosion. Yeah, you are here, Nelson. I didn't know if you were still here or not. Like I said, we got the whole Klubba crew in here. Okay, and then I had one more thing, but I didn't previously put it onto my stream, so I have to get it real quick. Hold on. It's Mr. X, everybody! When we're talking about DKC2 Kremling koncepts, you can't leave him out. So Mr. X remains mysterious. We don't really know what his deal was, except that he was, I guess, the original Cackle. Like, he was probably gonna take the, you know, he got replaced by Cackle. But the interesting thing about it is, it's kind of strange that they went through the trouble of, like, making an entire, like, 3D model for him and everything. And it was, like, late enough that he even made his way into, like, strategy guides and Nintendo Powers and stuff. But he still got cut. Like, he got cut that late in it after going through all that effort and replaced. So I don't know why they decided to do that at the end of the day. But... So here is a screenshot of the German strategy guide that he made his way into, and it says, no one knows him or has, like, even seen him even once. So, yep, he sure is mysterious. He exists, I guess, but no one's seen him. He's just a legend. The legend of Mr. X. Funny name for a Kremling, I mean, shouldn't it be like Mr. K or something? Hey, Fate in Reverse. But yeah, because of this guy's, like, mysterious status, he's sort of become a little fan favorite, cult classic character, I guess, among people who know of his existence. He's cool. We love him. He's some kind of ghost. I like to think that he was a, like, Kremling ruler or captain from, like, way back in the day, like, hundreds of years ago, a couple hundred years ago at least. The golden age of piracy. But there's so much, like, in Donkey Kong Country 2 that, you know, even stuff that didn't make its way into the final game that lends itself to the imagination for fans, like stuff like the Klubba battle or stuff like Mr. X. I like he's got little hooks, you know, he doesn't have like the big old hooks like Crook does, he's got like wee little hooks. Yeah, he does, I mean, I don't know if it's just because he's like a ghost or he's like undead or something, but he's got like this kind of weird, like the texture of his scales with the like white and blue. It's almost like some kind of like, I don't know, it looks very like unnatural, but in a cool way. He looks kind of zombie-esque, but I like the way his the bottom of his coat's all like ragged and stuff. I love Cackle too, and in as much as Mr. X was kind of replaced by Cackle, you know, I don't really have any regrets as far as that goes, because everyone knows Cackle's cool because he's just a skeleton, but I like to think that they are, like, the two of them do have a history together, and that, like, Cackle was maybe the first mate of Mr. X when he was a captain. Yeah, thinking of him as, like, an albino Kremling, too, like, maybe his red eyes aren't because he's, like, especially evil or something, it's just, like, because, like, albino animals tend to have red eyes. Albino gators in real life are really pretty. But yeah, I mean, we just don't know that much about him. He's just as the Germans said, he is mysterious. But it is just one of those things that's cool. Kein Mensch kennt ihn oder hat ihn irgendwo schon einmal gesehen. I don't have anything else to say today, really. We went through everything. So yeah, if you have any further comments on Donkey Kong Country 2 concepts, get them out now, because otherwise I think I'm about done. I'm hungry. I need to go eat something. So I had some other Nintendo powers, like I said, that we could look at, but we'd have to keep going for probably at least another hour, if not another, like, 2 hours to look at them. So I think we'll just save it. I actually am going to be busy next Saturday, so I think we'll do that on, like, Friday night, probably. Because it'll probably be a little, much like this one, probably be a somewhat shorter stream as far as they go. Well, I'll ask you, why do you think they got rid of Mr. X? Why do you think they cut this character entirely and just kind of replaced him? Maybe it's just because of, like, his design and how, like, kind of dark it is with his coat and stuff. Maybe even as sort of a transparent ghost, it didn't really, like, stand out as much against the background as much as, like, someone like Cackle would, who's more pale because he's a skeleton and he's all, like, you know, white, yellowish bones, you know. They weren't X-sided enough. Complicated. Yeah, again, he might not have, like, read well when you tried to, like, crunch this model down to, like, sprite size as well. Very complicated. So yeah, there's various reasons, but alas, poor guy. He's out there haunting the world still. We just haven't seen him. He's like Mr. X is like one of those, like, legend Pokemon, the, like, pokey gods that people would make up stories about. It's like, you have to, you know, I saw him in my game. I caught Mr. X in my game. Here's what I did. You know, I had to, like, run up and down routes, whatever, like 50 times, and then I had to fly to Lavender Town, and then, you know, so, but he's cool. We love Mr. X. He's real. Kerosene, not real. Kerosene doesn't exist. Mr. X, he gets to be real. He gets to exist. Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't have stood out very well against the background. But yeah, somewhat shorter session today. I may be back later tonight with trying to finish off Mario vs. Donkey Kong, or I might get swept up into something else and not come back. We'll see. But we will continue the chronology with looking at Donkey Kong Country 2 Nintendo Powers on Friday. That means Donkey Kong Land will get pushed, or Donkey Kong Land 2 will get pushed out a little bit further, but that's okay with me. And I'll try to maybe even, if I can find some like Donkey Kong Land 2 previews or something, we can also do that next week to lead into DKL 2. But that's about all I got for today, because I am getting hungry and tired, so I think I'm gonna call it here. We've said all we needed to say about it, and I will say, as like a way of like concluding all this, that it is interesting when we looked at the Donkey Kong Country concepts, they were a lot more all over the place, and that makes sense because they were trying to nail down like what Donkey Kong Country was going to be, like what it was going to be like tonally, what the Kremlings were, like, you know, what their whole deal was. And then once they had more firmly established kind of the tone they were going for in DKC, I think it was a lot easier to kind of like extrapolate off of that. You know, it's like, what do we know about them already? Well, they're militaristic, but they're also pirates, so let's explore the pirate aspects a little bit more. And at least from the concept art that we've seen here, I mean, for all we know, there's like a ton else that he just hasn't posted, but it seemed like it was a lot easier to kind of like nail down what they wanted this time, and there was fewer ideas that got thrown out. It's because Donkey Kong Country 2 is the perfect game, and it just, for the most part, just came into being by, you know, inspiration from Crocodile Core, because this game is perfection. But yeah, I'm pretty behind on like my YouTube uploads. I have the first 7 episodes of the chronology up already, but I'm like 6, I think I'll be 6 episodes behind once I'm done with this one, so I really need to catch up, so I'm gonna try to work on that over the next few days. And yeah, this game is, you know what's funny is there's this trend, I think I might have mentioned this at some point before, but there's, I guess, like a TikTok trend or something where people will just like edit together animal footage, and they'll say like beaver core or like cat core or, you know, like whatever core. And I get those on my YouTube Shorts suggestions sometimes because I look at animal videos, but sometimes ones pop up for me, of course they do, and it says it's like crocodile core, and I'm like, you can't just say crocodile core. But yeah, I will see you all soon. That's all I got. So I gotta do my, you know what, I already did this at the beginning of the beginning of the stream, but I'll do it again. I gotta do my ending of the stream tradition of showing off the shirt I'm wearing for the day. So alright, on that note, I will see you all soon, and I'll see you for more chronology on Friday, but I'll see you for other stuff before that. So good night, or good evening.